Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AM Report for Haps News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It is Tuesday, January 5th, and today is the day. It's the day of the election in Georgia. The U.S. Senate special runoff election is here, and Georgians are going to the polls in record numbers and have already voted in record numbers. We're going to discuss the state of this race today with Rance Collins. He's the editor-in-chief of 800 Democrat and a friend of mine and a friend of the program. And we're going to cover a little bit of today's top headlines, but Georgia, all eyes are on Georgia today. The entire fate of the U.S. Senate will be decided by what happens here today. All of this and more on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. I'm Alex Mahajer. If you're watching on the Haps app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let us know you're enjoying it. It'll pop up on screen, or leave a comment on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, wherever you may be watching. And we'll bat around with you live on air. We'll be joined in just a moment by Rance Collins from 800 Democrat. And we've got a lot of people chiming in already this morning. Good morning, David. Good to see you. Thank you for watching. Good morning, Mark Goldman from Los Angeles. Good to see you this morning, and thank you for the Super Heart Award to Luis and Pablo de la Hoya. Good morning from Los Angeles. Good to see you all this morning on the day of the election. It's election day. I can't believe we're having yet another election day in America. And although this is a U.S. Senate race in Georgia, it is an American election. This is going to decide a lot about the future of the American government and Joe Biden's administration. Before we jump into the Georgia news, though, I want to just cover a couple quick headlines of the morning as we get our day started. The Senate GOP is having a lot of dissent among its ranks. A growing number of Senate Republicans are speaking out against this idea of contesting the election results. Kevin Cramer, John Hoeven, and Shelley Moore Capito from North Dakota and West Virginia said yesterday they will not support challenges to the election results during this week's joint session of Congress, which is meant to happen tomorrow, and formally count the Electoral College votes. There's been also some confusion about whether Mike Pence will be there to oversee it or whether Chuck Grassley will oversee it. But now we're hearing the vice president will be there. Also, Trump has been saying that the vice president has the power to overturn the election, and he does not. The Constitution only grants him the authority and the power to count them, open the envelopes and count them. That's it. So Democrats are asking FBI Director Christopher Wray to investigate Donald Trump. His leaked phone call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger has been called criminal by two members of Congress, Ted Lieu and Kathleen Rice. And they want to know, did he engage in the solicitation of or attempted conspiracy to commit election fraud, which would be a crime? So they're asking Wray to investigate, and we'll see what happens in that case. But let's get to Georgia. I'd like to welcome to the program Rance Collins. He's the editor-in-chief of 800 Democrat, friend of the program. Good morning, Rance.
Good morning, Alex. Is something going on today?
It just seems like another Tuesday to me. What about you?
I think that I'm getting PTSD from 2 months ago right now. What about you?
Well, that PTSD ended up working out in our favor, but it was traumatic nonetheless, particularly because we had to wait for so long.
Which is something that people should be expecting tonight. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Two things you need to know about tonight right off the bat. We probably will not know who the winners are tonight because it's going to be a close race. And the only way you know who the winner is when it isn't a close race. And they count the same day votes first. They count the mail-in and early votes second. So there may be a situation where it looks like the Republicans ahead, but it'll flip. Just keep those things in mind.
Yes, indeed. And let's give our viewers a little bit of a primer about what's going on today if they don't know. If they've been living under a rock, which I'm sure that they haven't, my viewers are pretty incredibly astute. But We've got a special runoff election that's happening in Georgia that will determine the outcome of the power structure of the U.S. Senate. There are two Republican incumbents in this state who both have elections. One is Senator David Perdue, who's asking to be reelected for a new term. Right, his term has now ended. He's asking to be reelected. He's run for a regular election. His challenger is Democrat Jon Ossoff. The other race is for Senator Kelly Loeffler, incumbent. She's an appointee. She was appointed in January of last year when Johnny Isakson retired from Congress. His term is about 4 years in, and the challenger there is Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock, who is now running to complete that term. So he's running for 2 years, and then there will be a new election in 2 years for the new term in that seat.
Right.
That's what's up. Kelly Loeffler is an appointee, and this election went before the general on the general election ballot in November 3rd. But none of the candidates were able to get above 50%. And in Georgia, they have a election law that if no candidate gets above 50%, the top two candidates from the race will move to a special runoff election. First and foremost, Rance, what are your impressions going into Election Day about the state of the race and how the candidates have been doing? What is the sentiment on the ground? What are your thoughts as we go into today?
If there is any shot in Georgia of us gaining 2 Democratic senators, we could not ask for a better perfect storm of situations. The last few days, the early voting numbers and turnout are all very favorable for Democrats. Like, it looks like a good situation. Now, obviously, looking like a good situation and being a good situation are two separate things. But I mean, the nonstop coverage for the last couple of days has been these consequential Donald Trump tapes that make him look horrible and are very squarely centered on what's going on in Georgia. And David Perdue has not been on the campaign trail because he's having to isolate from COVID-19, a disease that he did not take very seriously, from a party that would not bring the $2,000 to the floor for a vote. And during a situation where Atlanta is having to put people in the hallways and in the waiting rooms because there isn't room in the ICU for their COVID-19 patients. I mean, if you look at everything on paper right now, there doesn't seem to be any reason that Georgia would want to keep these senators. Now, this is a swing state, and you and I obviously have a very certain perspective, so it could go the other way. But if you're looking at optics, things are not optically very good for the Republicans. And if there is a chance for Democrats to win, there is no better ideal situation to be in.
Well, and here's why this race is so crucial, is that right now, after the election result, the dust settled on the general election in November, the Democrats and the Republicans are basically tied in the U.S. Senate. They have a stalemate. So if Democrats win these 2 seats, then they will have 50 U.S. senators, and Republicans will have 50 U.S. senators, and they will be at a lock, basically a tie. And then Vice President Kamala Harris will be the president of the Senate, and therefore be the tie-breaking vote, and will give Democrats the majority, a new Senate majority leader, basically a new Senate. If they aren't able to win those 2 Senate seats, then Mitch McConnell stays Senate majority leader, and Republicans maintain control of the Senate, and that becomes very difficult for for Joe Biden to effectuate his appointments, his policy proposals, to get his agenda done. As we know, Mitch McConnell obstructed President Barack Obama almost entirely for his entire term. So the candidates understand the weight and severity of these races. Do the voters understand?
I mean, that's an extremely good question. You and I are tuned into politics every day, and you and I know and have known since the end of the general election that this was going to be what the Senate came down to. But, you know, a lot of people probably are just like, oh, what does 50-50 in the Senate mean? If the vice president can be a tie-breaking vote, like, this is all stuff that's so unusual, it probably isn't on the top of people's heads. But essentially right now we're in a do or die situation as far as having a Senate that Joe Biden can work with. It literally comes down to 2 seats. If we split the seats, it doesn't work. He still has the majority. So yeah, this is go time. But I will say, regardless of, I'm sorry, my cats are going crazy and are knocking a Christmas tree ball all around the floor right now. Because of course they chose now to do that of all the times of the day. But one thing to keep in mind here is we were not supposed to win the presidential election in Georgia. Everything that happens today, any success that the Democrats have, is against all odds, against all voter suppression odds, is a win. And hopefully we get a Senate out of this that we can work with. But do keep in mind, we would still have a net gain on seats no matter what happened in the Senate.
And Rance, on that subject, I just want to say, if you're a Georgia voter and your name is not on the voter rolls today, you can ask for a provisional ballot. That is your right. If your name is not on the voter rolls, ask for a provisional ballot and call the Georgia Election Protection Hotline about this issue. You are legally allowed to have a provisional ballot. The number for the Georgia Protection Hotline is 866-OUR-VOTE. 866-OUR-VOTE. If you are not able to, if your name is not on the voter rolls, and that election protection hotline will assist you. So Rance, there's been a lot of controversy, and if you're watching, chime in, leave a comment, let us know. What are your hopes? What are your thoughts? Are you a Georgia voter? Leave a comment, let us know what it's like on the ground there. And Pablo de la Hoya is just really impressed with your cats. They never fail.
Literally every time we do this,
yeah,
they're completely silent, and then your voice pops up, and then it's like, Rah!
I'm the cat whisperer.
You are.
Gene says, Gene Giuliani Jr., which I just love your screen name. Let's just end this Trump mess and get our new president-elect Biden to do his job he was voted for. Okay. Kamala Harris saying yesterday, let me be very clear. We're going to be inaugurated January 20th. This election contest stuff is just theater. But nevertheless, so there's been a lot of controversy in these races, Rance. A lot of corruption and scandal sort of has come up in terms of the Republicans, Perdue and Loeffler, and their profiting off of their Senate seats. And then yesterday, some news about Perdue and his business dealings with China. Can you speak a little bit to these controversies that have come up?
Again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying a second ago. If we can't win under these circumstances in Georgia, what circumstances can we win under? Literally, you have the 2 most corrupt politicians in the Senate representing Georgia right now. They are literally politicians for profit, the exact definition of that. I mean, they invested in companies that make body bags right after they found out about COVID-19. So you tell me what type of senators those are. So this is the last couple days, that revelation with China, as far as David Perdue goes, also him not being on the campaign trail to do anything to refute that. And the fact that apparently, I just read this tweet, how someone said, how heavily is the Trump Secretary of State being covered on local news in Atlanta? The NBC station 11, Alive News, has a number you can text, and they will respond with a link that you can call that has the full hour and 2 minute call for you to listen to. So like this, it sounds like the Trump Secretary of State thing on top of every piece of corruption is getting like 24/7 coverage on their local news stations. And so like this is the worst possible thing that the two Republicans in the state could ask for. And on top of that, because Trump is doing this maddening dash to try and steal the election, which is exactly what I mean. He can't steal the election. It's like so ridiculous to even say the words because we're so beyond that point. But you know, to change the electoral college vote, which is happening on Wednesday, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler had to basically come out in support of what Trump's doing because they're so afraid of losing his base. But in trying to regain his base, who the heck are they getting in the middle of the road? You know, they're just like, man.
I'll note, Rance, that the base and the leaders of that base, like attorneys Lin Wood and Sidney Powell, and the people that have been driving these election fraud lies, are also calling for the execution of people like Mike Pence or people like people who don't support these allegations of voter fraud. They are calling for Georgia voters to not vote at all. Republicans, they're saying don't even vote because if you don't vote, the Dominion servers will self-destruct and it'll expose the voter fraud or something. Like they're eating themselves alive, basically. Mm-hmm. Kelly Loeffler photographed with KKK Klansmen. Then there's this scandal with the New York Stock Exchange, the stock trading. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a primer. So on January 24th, the Senate Committees on Health and Foreign Relations held a closed meeting with only senators present to brief them about the COVID-19 outbreak and how it would affect us in America. Following that meeting, Kelly Loeffler and her husband, Jeffrey Sprecher, who is the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. And I'll note that Kelly Loeffler is a billionaire and the richest member of Congress by far and ever, historically, like the richest member of Congress. Okay?
Alex. She has $800 million. She's not a billionaire. Goodness.
Some people value her at $1 billion. Some people say 800 million. Either way, she is by far historically the richest member of Congress. Her husband is the president of the New York Stock Exchange. She and her husband made 27 transactions to sell stocks worth between $1.2 and $3.1 million, and 2 transactions to buy stock in Citrix Systems, which saw an increase following the stock market crash. And this was after their closed door meeting in their Senate committee positions. Okay. Then Senator Perdue made a series of 112 transactions with stocks sold for about $825,000 to $1.8 million. And he started buying hundreds of thousands of dollars in stocks in DuPont, which is a company that makes personal protective equipment, on the same day as the Senate briefing. So these people are crooks. They're crooks. Oh, yeah. And they've been called crooks. John Ossoff called Perdue a crook to his face during the debate. And so we'll see what happens. But hopefully Georgians do the right thing. Rance, final thoughts as we go into Election Day tonight.
I mean, you know, just what we needed, another day to obsessively watch the news, to refresh our various election decision desk-like websites, and reasons to not sleep tonight, wondering if we'll know the results tonight or tomorrow, or if I fall asleep, am I going to miss something? I mean, like, this is just one last encore performance for 2020 bleeding over into 2021.
Yeah, and we've got some comments chiming in. People are starving in the US, and that's just sad. Greedy bastards, says one commenter regarding the stock trades that happened. Michelle Alexander saying, I bet they invest in tinfoil too. Very funny. La la la. La la la. This has been the 8 Report for Haps News. I'd like to thank Rance Collins. Thank you so much, Rance. We'll see you soon.
Bye, friend.
Oh, sorry. Where can people find you and 800 Democrat today? Because you guys are providing a lot of coverage.
Yes, 800 Democrat, just the number 800 Democrat and the word Democrat on both on Twitter and on Facebook. Follow us, and I'll be trying to keep you updated on all the developments today.
All right, very good. Thanks so much, Rance Collins.
Alex Muhajir.
This has been the AM Report for Apps News, the network of Now. We are live every weekday morning with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you'd like this journalism, if you'd like this content, please consider subscribing or sponsoring it. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex, or click the award button. Let us know you're enjoying it. Or you can subscribe and get notifications every morning to know when we've gone live. We will be back tomorrow with investigative journalist Greg Palast. He's been on the ground exposing voter fraud and voter suppression in Georgia, and he'll be here tomorrow to give us a download of how the race went. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for subscribing, Brenda, and for the comments, everybody. And we will see you all tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.